So I was I'm a mechanical engineer by background, and I basically started out with a company called Saint-Gobain. I started out in application engineering and stuff like that. Very quickly realized that my area of interest is not really engineering, but I want to get into business side of it, commercial side of it. So I transitioned into sales. Grew pretty rapidly in the organization, ended up running a small P&L for Saint-Gobain. And that's where, it started hitting me that I need to get a little bit more understanding of finance. Specifically, that was one of the motivations to start with. And also get a little bit more business, learning environment and so on and so forth. So that's really what got me thinking to do an MBA. And then one thing I was very clear was that I was going to do a one-year program at that stage of my life in terms of just time out of work and cost and everything else. So I went and applied for a bunch of one-year programs across the world, including ISB. I had admissions from 4 schools, including INSEAD and ISB. And then it became a trade-off between cost, time away from family, out of country, etc., because of which I ended up choosing ISB. And within that, one real hard sell which did happen was Professor Deepak Jain at that time and Sumantra Ghoshal. They really sold the vision of the school really well, which kind of convinced at least the first batch to come to ISB. So look, I think it's a tough question you're asking me, because to be honest, when we arrived here versus where we were when we accepted our admissions to the date we joined, it was in June. Things had not moved at the pace that they should have moved in terms of infrastructure. So we actually ended up staying in a hotel, Taj Krishna, for a month before we actually started living in the student village 2. And so infrastructure was not ready, but I think what still was very exciting at that point of time was the kind of faculty who was coming and teaching us and the kind of quality time we were getting with them, because we were a relatively small class. So it was a mixed bag, just like any startup is. There were ups and downs, but I don't think there was a point of time where people completely gave up. There were times when it was looking hopeless, it was looking difficult, but that was probably part of the deal we made in getting into a startup situation. But then as the year rolled on, I think things started settling in. Pramath became a great, mentor, leader, dean, everything which he did in that particular year. He was, every student of that class was like his child, if I may say so. And he took personal care. He sat down with us individually, helped us write our resumes, helped us dress up our profiles. So he did a ton of work as we headed towards the placement season and all of that. So all in all, I think it was a great experience. A little bit of a startup situation with some ups and downs, but as the real year rolled in, I think we did pretty well. There was enough excitement in the class. The class was very, very closely knit, and if at all this gets to some of my fellow alumni, they'll know what I'm saying. The block where we used to live and the room where I used to live, I in fact took a walk today there, was called the clubhouse. It was all doors open all the time, and basically anybody could walk in at any point of time in the night or day and enjoy, do whatever they wanted to do. So there were a lot of fun moments. But I think one other story I will tell you, which I'll never forget, is Professor Sumantra Ghoshal moved on to a new role, chose not to teach at ISB, but then the students literally revolted and said, we need him here and he has to teach us. He relented. His only condition was that when he will teach, no other classes will happen. So he went flat out from morning to night, literally, and all his class sessions were video recorded. And to that extent, that was one hell of an experience, because he would just start in the morning and keep going. He will decide when the break happens, when the break doesn't happen. So there were many things. And then one other experience I remember is, we did this, I forgot the name of the course, but this was around mental peace, and we went into a destination somewhere away, and we were subjected to meditation, yoga and all, which was a mixed bag. Some people found it interesting, others said, why are you doing this to me for the business class, business education I've come here for. So yeah, I mean, there were funny things which happened. Phenomenal. I mean, I think one of the best years of my life, because the context is very important here, and the context was, gave up my job 8 years into it, walked into ISB, lived in a hotel when life started at ISB, and then there were moments of time when you were wondering, did I take the right decision? But I think if I look back today, I mean, of course, it was a great break. It almost made me contemplate taking another break like that, because it was perfect timing from that context. I said maybe another break is needed because it just rejuvenates you, lets you get out of the regular rhythm and the rut which you are in, and think about things which you've not thought about, which is what happened at ISB. So both from personal standpoint as well as professional standpoint, great experience. Personal bunch of friends, even today very, very close friends. Some of the closest friends I have were friends made in ISB, who are mentors, confidants, whatever name you want to use. And then professionally, of course, I mean, where I was to where I went or where I have come today, I think it's all ISB. So great experience. Personal level, I think I built some level of confidence, I would say, in myself and what I can do or what I'm capable of doing. Also from a transformation standpoint, and this is kind of might sound trivial to you, I was an engineer by my headset. When I was running that P&L, my finance guy would every time tell me, no, don't worry about this subject, not your cup of tea. At least now when I talk to my CFO, he always learns a couple of things from me. So just a transformative in that context, I can tell him what's the discounted cash flow model and what exactly he needs to do when he's doing valuations or NPV calculation and everything else. It was very, very, that's why I said it might sound trivial to you, but it was bookish. But yes, I learned all of my finance from Raghuram Rajan, who's now the governor of RBI, and great experience again. And it helps me today to tell my CFO that I know a couple of things better than he does. I made that choice that my family was not with me. I was alone here because I did want to dedicate this year to learning. So they joined me in the second half of the year, but not the first half. It was great. I mean, they were not living on campus because I opted for student village accommodation and not for the other family accommodation. So they used to visit me, or I used to visit them in Hyderabad. They were living in Hyderabad city. And they made great friends. I mean, the families who were living there, they, again, all the women folk, they used to connect and they used to meet up and do stuff. So for them also it was a great experience. I mean, they all enjoyed it. And my daughter at that time was only 4 years old. So a lot of my batchmates who sometimes suddenly meet now, who've not met for the last 12, 13 years, they can't imagine that she's in college now. So yes, I think key takeaways, great network, of course, got the knowledge. I think what I also learned in ISB, which is what I think the case methodology which we used at that time helps you do, is how do you synthesize and process information? Because in today's world, one of the biggest challenge all of us face is that we are bombarded with so much information from all directions. How do you really process all of this data and information which is coming into you and make judgment calls? And I think I got that little bit of that knack on how do you manage this while at ISB. So yes, great peer network, great friends, great learning, and a great 1 year away from work. So now, as I said, I mean, I think I really wanted to take a break in my life from my career and wanted to just sit back, reflect what I wanted to do. So exec MBA was not an option because that would have just stressed both sides of it. I would have been stretched on my job as well as I would have been stretched on whatever I was trying to learn. This allowed me to just focus on what I wanted to achieve out of that 1 year, and it helped me a lot.